Hello and welcome to day 89 in the Not Alone Today chronological Bible reading plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we are reading 1 Samuel chapter 24, then we go on to Psalm 57, then we come to Psalm 142 and wrap it up at 1 Samuel 25.
1 Samuel chapter 24. When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, "Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi." Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to seek David and his men in front of the wild goats' rocks. And he came to the sheepfolds by the way, where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave. And the men of David said to him, "Here is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you." And David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And afterwards, David's heart struck him because he had cut off a corner of Saul's robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, seeing is the Lord's anointed." So David persuaded his men with these words, and did not permit them to attack Saul. And Saul rose up and left the cave and went on his way.
Afterward, David also arose and went out of the cave and called after Saul, "My lord the king!" And when Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the earth and paid homage. And David said to Saul, "Why do you listen to the words of men who say, 'Behold, David seeks your harm'? Behold, this day your eyes have seen how the Lord gave you today into my hand in the cave. And some told me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not put out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For by the fact that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you, you may know and see that there is no wrong or treason in my hands. I have not sinned against you, though you haunt my life to take it. May the Lord judge between me and you, and may the Lord avenge me against you. But my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancients says, out of the wicked comes wickedness. But my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? After whom do you pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? May the Lord therefore be judge and give sentence between me and you, and see to it and plead my cause, and deliver me from your hand."
As soon as David had finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have repaid me good, whereas I have repaid you evil. And you have declared this day how you have dealt well with me, in that you did not kill me when the Lord put me into your hands. For if a man finds his enemy, will him let him go away safe? So may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. Now behold, I know that you shall surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Swear to me therefore by the Lord, that you will not cut off my offspring after me, and that you will not destroy my name out of my father's house." And David swore this to Saul. Then Saul went home, but David and his men went up to the stronghold.
Psalm 57. To the choir master, according to "Do Not Destroy," a miktam of David when he fled from Saul in the cave. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me. For in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge till the storms of destruction pass by. I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. He will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame him who tramples on me. God will send out his steadfast love and his faithfulness.
My soul is in the midst of lions. I lie down amid fiery beasts, the children of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp swords.
Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth.
Set a net for my steps. My soul was bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my glory. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is great to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds.
Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth.
Psalm 142. A maskil of David when he was in the cave. A prayer. Verse 1. With my voice I cry out to the Lord. With my voice I plead for mercy to the Lord. I pour out my complaints before him. I tell my trouble before him.
When my spirit faints within me, you know my way. In the path where I walk, they have hidden a trap for me. Look to the right and see, there is none who takes notice of me. No refuge remains to me. No one cares for my soul.
I cry to you, O Lord. I say, you are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Attend to my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are too strong for me. Bring me out of prison, that I may give thanks to your name. The righteous will surround me, for you will deal bountifully with me.
1 Samuel chapter 25. Now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him in his house at Ramah.
Then David rose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose business was in Carmel. The man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He was sharing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. The woman was discerning and beautiful, but the man was harsh and badly behaved. He was a Calebite. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was sharing his sheep. So David sent 10 young men. David said to the young men, go up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name. And thus you shall greet him, peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. I hear you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did them no harm, and they missed nothing all the time they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they'll tell you. Ask your young men, and they'll tell you. Therefore, let my young men find favor in your eyes, for we have come on a feast today. Please give whatever you have at hand to your servants and to your son David.
When David's young men came, they said all this to Nabal in the name of David, and then they waited. And Nabal answered David's servants, who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants these days who are breaking away from their masters. Shall I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have killed for my shearers and give it to men who come from I do not know where? So David's young men turned away and came back and told him all this. And David said to his men, every man strap on his sword. And every man of them strapped on his sword. David also strapped on his sword. And about 400 men went up after David, while 200 remained with the baggage.
But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to greet our master, and he railed at them. Yet the men were very good to us, and we suffered no harm. We did not miss anything when we were in the field, as long as we went with them. They were a wall to us, both by night and by day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know this and consider what you should do. For harm is determined against our master and against all his house, as is such a worthless man that one cannot speak to him.
Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 skins of wine and 5 sheep already prepared and 5 seahs of parched grain and 100 clusters of raisins and 200 cakes of figs and laid them on donkeys. And she said to her young men, go on before me. Behold, I come after you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. And as she rode on the donkey and came down under cover of the mountain, behold, David and his men came down toward her, and she met them. Now David had said, surely in vain have I gathered all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that belonged to him. And he has returned me evil for good. God do so to the enemies of David and more also, if by morning I leave so much as one male of all who belong to him.
When Abigail saw David, she hurried and got down from the donkey and fell before David on her face and bowed to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "On me alone, my lord, be the guilt. Please let your servant speak in your ears and hear the words of your servant. Let not my lord regard this worthless fellow Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your servant, did not see the young men of my lord, whom you sent. Now then, my lord, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, because the Lord has restrained you from blood guilt and from saving with your own hand. Now then, let your enemies and those who seek to do evil to my lord be as Nabal. And now, let this present that your servant has brought to my lord be given to the young men who follow my lord. And now, let this present that your servant has brought to my lord be given to the young men who follow my lord. Please forgive the trespass of your servant, for the Lord will certainly make my lord a sure house, because my lord is fighting the battles of the Lord. And evil shall not be found in you, so long as you live. If men rise up to pursue you and to seek your life, the life of my lord shall be bound in the bundle of the living in the care of the Lord your God. And the lives of your enemies it shall sling out as from the hollow of a sling. And when the Lord has done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has appointed you prince over Israel, my Lord shall have no cause of grief or pangs of conscience for having shed blood without cause, or for my Lord working salvation himself. And when the Lord has dealt well with my Lord, then remember your servant."
And David said to Abigail, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you this day to meet me. Blessed be your discretion, and blessed be you, who have kept me this day from blood guilt and from working salvation with my own hand. For as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has restrained me from hurting you, unless you had hurried and come to meet me, truly by morning there had not been left to Nabal so much as one male." Then David received from her hand what she had brought him, and he said to her, "Go up in peace to your house. See, I have obeyed your voice, and I have granted your petition."
And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he was holding a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until the morning light. In the morning, when the wine had gone out of Nabal, his wife told him these things, and his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And about 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died.
When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Blessed be the Lord who has avenged the insult I received at the hand of Nabal, and has kept back his servants from wrongdoing. The Lord has returned the evil of Nabal on his own head." Then David sent and spoke to Abigail to take her as his wife. When the servants of David came to Abigail at Carmel, they said to her, "David has sent us to you to take you to him as his wife." And she rose and bowed with her face to the ground and said, "Behold, your handmaid is a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord." And Abigail hurried and rose and mounted a donkey, and her 5 young women attended her. She followed the messengers of David and became his wife.
David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and both of them became his wives. Saul had given Michal, his daughter, David's wife, to Palti, the son of Lahish, who was of Galim. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Just a quick recap of the 4 chapters we've read today. Firstly, we read 1 Samuel 24, and that's where we read the first time when David spared Saul's life. He saw Saul in a cave, cut off his robe, a part of his robe, but did not harm him. And this somehow changed the mind of Saul, and he left David alone and went back home. Then we read Psalm 57, a psalm of David when he was in the cave. And it's just mostly him lamenting about his enemies and then extolling God in his steadfastness. Then we read Psalm 142, another psalm of David when he was in the cave. This time a prayer, him crying out to God, his soul fainting within him, and then again extolling that God will deal with him bountifully. And then we read 1 Samuel 25, where we read about the death of Samuel, and then the story of David and Abigail and Nabal. And now Nabal was harsh, but Abigail was quite discerning. And because of her discernment, she was able to save her household. But Nabal lost his life because the Lord struck him. And after Nabal died, David made Abigail his wife. And he also took another wife because his other wife, his first wife, Michal, had been given to someone else. So what stood out to you in the first chapter, my love?
Thank you. The story of David encountering Saul with an opportunity to kill him in 1 Samuel 24 and choosing not to is quite interesting. I think actually there's a connection between chapters 24 and 25 in terms of the fact that both stories show how vengeance should be the Lord's. And that's what David portrayed in both cases. He was going to kill Saul. He was even advised to do so because the Lord apparently had delivered Saul into his hand, but he did not. And likewise, he was going to kill Nabal and wipe off his household, all the males therein. But again, thanks to the intervention of Abigail, he did not. And in both cases, in Saul's case, we're going to see that eventually God stood on David's cause and Saul would die and David would become king. The same thing with Nabal. Nabal would die and Abigail will become his wife. But what struck my attention much more is how it says in verse 5 that David's heart struck him because he had cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And he said, the Lord forbid I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, saying he is the Lord's anointed. It seems to me that there is something about anointing and the anointed in the days of the old covenant that David seemed to understand much more than any other person. Because, from the story we have read so far, if we are reading the same story, anybody will be like, yes, that serves him right. He could even have done much more than just cut his robe. But even in doing that, he felt like he has transgressed. He has gone beyond what is possibly permissible for him to do to someone that has been publicly anointed by the Lord. And I think it just gives us, again, that sense of knowing that now we are the anointed of the Lord. The Bible says we have the unction of the Holy One and we know all things. We are in Christ, in the anointed one. Christ means the anointed one with his anointing. We are literally seated in Christ. And so if that is true, then there is a measure of confidence and divine security that should attend us in our day-to-day activities, just knowing that we are the anointed of the Lord. And therefore, as the word of God says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. What stood out to you?
What stood out to me was how David could have walked up to Saul, cut off his robe without Saul knowing. And it's a cave, it's a quiet place. That I found that a bit interesting. Another part that stood out to me was how that even when Saul had said he would leave David alone and he went home, David and his men did not return back home with him. They returned to the stronghold. And it portrays wisdom to me, in that the enemy you've always known, if they suddenly turn and say, don't worry, I'm no longer your enemy, I'll do you good. That's not to say that we'll then start running to them and be eating in the same plate with them. There's still a bit of circumspection that is required. And I think that's what David used here, and I found that very instructive. Because ordinarily, if I should look at it as a layman, my view would be like, thank God, the war is over.
The battle is over.
I can return home to my wife and settle down and do things. But somehow David knew enough to know that it's not time yet to return home. And he went to the stronghold, and that was quite instructive for me.
Very, very. Thank you. Psalm 57, a very interesting psalm as well. But what stood out to you?
Verse 4 stood out to me on how David likened the words that comes from people's mouth as sharp swords, and how their teeth are likened to spears and arrows. Because sometimes people say things to you that are so cutting, they're so damaging that you think, what?
Yeah. That was the verse I highlighted as well. And knowing, of course, in this case that this is him describing Saul and the people around Saul that are all on this mission, capture and kill David, that they've all put themselves on unnecessarily. Verse 5 and verse 11 literally says the same thing, but I've heard it's been sung as a song, and now it's good to see the context of it. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. And for David to interject that into this psalm on a couple of occasions says, amongst other things, that this is what David is all about. This is the thing going on in the background of his heart, that God's glory should be over all the earth, and God indeed should be above all things, and that come what may, God should be exalted. And I think our desires as well must always align with that. Even in spiritual warfare, it's not about us, quote and unquote, just winning for the sake of winning. We want to be sure that this is all about God being exalted. This is all about God being made famous. This is all about the glory of God being revealed for all flesh to see it together as his mouth has spoken, according to Isaiah 40, verse 5.
True.
Psalm 142, still in the same context, in the cave.
Yes. Verse 7 stood out to me on how that David reassured himself that no matter what's going on around me, the righteous will surround him and God will deal bountifully with him.
Yeah.
And that again is instructive. We don't pray at the problem. We reaffirm what is around us in spite of the problem. We reaffirm God's power, his legacy, so to say, in spite of that situation we're going through. Despite the trap, whether in prison or whether we are fainting, those things, as important or as very valid as they are, or seeable, what is even more sure is righteousness that surrounds us and is dealing bountifully with us. That was really encouraging to me.
Thank you. I like verse 5, especially the latter part. You are my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Again, that's at the very crux of that psalm, to say God is his hiding place and God is all he has. Yes, his family are not with him at the moment because he has kept them for safe in Moab. Maybe, many other things he would love to be with him and not necessarily with him at that point, but God is his portion in the land of the living, wherever he finds himself. And that was true of David. That continues to be true of us as well. Now we come to 1 Samuel 25, the interesting story of David and Abigail. What stood out to you?
The first thing is that Nabal was very rich. So his reluctance to help David is unnecessary.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take anything out of him to have done what he needed to do.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is David's rash decision to want to kill every person in Nabal's house. And the third thing that stood out to me was how that one of the young men told Abigail what has happened. And then the young person told Abigail to consider what she should do. That is quite good. It shows she's a person who is teachable. Because in a sense, the person who's talking to her would be like someone she's employed, isn't it? So for the person to be able to say, consider what you should do, and then she heeded that was quite instructive for me. And how the wisdom on what she now did when she went to David reminded me of what Jacob did when he returned back to his homeland to meet Esau. She sent the gifts and the present before her. The same way Jacob did. Sent the oxen and the sheep and everything before. Sent his second wife and then and then his first wife before he then proceeded to go. Very, very wise. And when she did this, David saw the present but did not say anything until she came. And then, oh God, the beautiful speech she gave from 23 to 31 is just mind-blowing. Lots of sandwiched compliments. She's basically telling David what to do.
Yeah.
But in a very nice what's the word?
Non-threatening way.
Non-threatening way, like, it's up to you, sir, but this is what I think you should do. Because remember, you're the Lord your God. And she kept calling David my Lord and kept referring to God my Lord. It's if I was David, after hearing just half of it, of the spiel, I would say, no, don't worry, come. I am no longer angry. Nobody's getting killed today. She's shown a depth of wisdom. And I don't understand why Nabal died. Because he has stopped being drunk. Verse 37 said, the wine had gone out of Nabal before Abigail told him these things. So why did his heart die within him and he became as a stone?
We don't know.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Underlying medical conditions.
Because we've read earlier that he was a harsh man and badly behaved. So in that context, if he hears that his wife went behind him to undo something he's done, the expected behavior will be like, why did you do that? I was send that away. Abigail must have put it to him in a way that brought about this consequence. I don't know.
Not necessarily.
It could be God wanting it to just happen that way.
I mean, that's the explanation that the text gave, that the Lord struck him.
But before the Lord struck him, though, his heart turned to stone. It's that part that it's unclear. There's no wine in him. He was married the night before. Yes, it's good not to know these things, but I just thought to say it.
Yeah, valid questions to ask. It's the statement from part of what the servants that, intervened and quickly spoke to Abigail said about their master. That's the statement that stood out to me the most when he says that he's worthless. He says he's such a worthless man that one cannot speak to him. That if we get to that point where nobody can speak to us, nobody can correct us, nobody can reason along with us, that's just a very dangerous place to be. And we don't want to be there. Of course, there are many question marks here and there in the story, as you rightly raised. But I also think Abigail is just very strategic. It's almost like she has been looking for an opportunity to be married to David. And then she took it when she saw this as the opportunity to make the connection. Because she's not unaware of David. From her speech, you can tell that she knew that this is the person that has been anointed of the Lord to take over from Saul. There are so many things that she seems to have known. But again, I don't want to paint her in a bad light because I just don't know. But it looks really suspicious that your husband had barely died. You had barely mourned. And then someone comes and says, come be my wife. And I'm just your handmaid. But it sounds fishy in a sense. But that's the story, and that's what we see. But we turn the page on day 90, 3 months in, as we look at Saul's last days. As we read 1 Samuel 20, chapters 26 to 30, as well as Psalm 54. So join us again as we turn the page. But till then, just remember,
you're not alone
today.
God bless you.